Welcome back, baseball fans, to another elimination video. Today we're eliminating the Oakland A's. I want to show you first, a year ago, your Dynasty Oakland A's World Championship team ran wire to wire, demolishing everybody that was in their way. They lost the Interleague Series to Atlanta. That was about it to make them imperfect. 35-13, 22 over 500. Catfish Hunter, just an insane year. 14-1, Cy Young winner. Holtzman backed him up. You had 17 saves, near perfect. Raleigh fingers, 71-cent earned run average. The funny part about it is Don Wilson and Al Downing didn't help a lot at 3 and 4 spots. Those were the guys picked up in the Vita Blue trade. They still won 35-13 with that trade happening. The offense, they had a great year out of Mike Hegan. Small sample card. Ultimately would lose this card, but at least he becomes the first baseman primarily for this run of Oakland. They had Mike Epstein at this time. They had some other guys who could play first, but Hegan ran with it. You know, let me talk about the role players. Larry Brown, Pat Corrales hit about $180, and they both hit 300 and 295. If that's going to happen, you pretty much are seeing the gold at the end of the rainbow. It's probably your year. Campaneris and Reggie were steady, though their numbers aren't exactly eye-popping, but they're still good. You know, great numbers for those guys. Same with Rudy and Bando. I mean, it's steady. It's not flashy. Frankly, the only really disappointing year might be Dick Green, and you could certainly tolerate a bad year out of him. This is a World Championship team, and they look like it. So that's flash forward. What the heck happened this past year? Getting bounced 4 straight to Baltimore, finishing just a game over 500. Batting average dropped about 15, 20 points. The ERA actually got better, believe it or not. So let's start with pitching. So Catfish Hunter, similar kind of performance in 2 fewer series. He's still 9-5. Had some bad luck in there. Got knocked around on opening day. Even after getting knocked around on opening day, his ERA is a little bit lower than it was a year ago. Kenny Holtzman, not quite as good and just not getting the support. They added Torres. Frankly, Torres as a 3 spot was better than the guys they had a year ago. Dave Hamilton in the 4 spot was not. He was terrible. I guess you got to say Raleigh Fingers only had 9 saves, half as many. And the ERA is, yeah, he was touched. He wasn't untouchable. Just a head-scratching year. But really, it's the offensive failures. Mike Hegan at the top is gone. Well, Steve Anaveris, another small sample guy, did a decent job hitting 326. Way overachieving with his card. That's a good start. Joe Rudy's right on par. Look at Dick Green. That's nice. Claudel slightly beneath. Bando got a little bit better. Then after that, it falls apart. So Gene Tennis is down to 232. Draws all those walks he's known for, but just a 381 on base is still fantastic. But just 5 homer, 22 RBIs. What a disastrous year for Reggie. Hate to pin the blame in any specific spot, but Reggie clearly struggled hitting 227. Did draw a lot of walks. Just 4 home runs all year long. 14 RBI also, and he's just left in the number 4 spot all year. Never had a day off, and that's going to kill you. Campaneris at the top. You know, we talked about Mike Hegan being missing. You know, one player who is not here, and he wouldn't be here, would be Bill North. If Bill North was here, he would probably be leading off for this team. Campaneris wouldn't have to lead off. You could put him batting second, or you could put him at the bottom of the lineup. Claudel Washington, who often batted lead off for second, he's probably better suited. His on-base percentage, look at that, just 6 walks, 32 strikeouts. He's probably better suited to be in the middle of the lineup. Maybe stagger him. A Reggie Claudel Washington sandwich with a right-handed batter in between might make some sense. And then, again, a bunch of guys around the Mendoza line who weren't big contributors anyway. And that's just a yucky year for a team that finished a game over 500, who was extremely fortunate to play in the American League West, where they were beating up on the California Angels, Texas Rangers, and Seattle Mariners. There is something to be said about trying to repeat in these carryover leagues. I don't know. I can't really pin it down on one thing other than to say maybe just Add the numbers together in both years. They were 35 and 13. So let's make them 57 and 34. You'd take that. You'd take 57 and 34, wouldn't you? And frankly, the Oakland A winning percentage during their dynasty wasn't that great anyway. They won like 92, 94 games, 96 games, something like that. They never were a 100-win juggernaut. So last year, everything looked like a juggernaut, of course, but this year it did not. With that, we have to take a look now at the Oakland Cards of 1973, which is my favorite year of the 72, 3, 4. I think 73 is their best year, and we're going to have a sad off season figuring out what does this team do as we look at the 8 players that they're going to have to figure out who they want to keep, waive, retire, or probably trade. And yeah, you're going to get to you're going to get to a point where you have more than 4 guys you want to keep, and yeah, definitely more than 4 guys. So you're going to have a struggle here, and you got to figure out what do you do. You can't hide these guys. You either got to trade them or lose them. That's some star power Oakland can lose in the offseason. So we get the hints, at least, that Charlie Finley might start selling at least part of this team off. Who do they bring back? So they added Duffy Dyer as a catcher to back up Tennis. He'll come back. Again, you don't even need him, but he's got his 75 card for 2 more years. He's a catcher versus lefties with -1 arm. Phil Garner was added to the team. He could be the second baseman moving forward if you don't want to continue with Dick Green. Here's that Oliveros card. It was actually played pretty well for the A's both times. A switch hitter, plenty of walks, has the power, can play in the outfield and in the corners. Nice, useful card for a guy who wasn't even on Oakland. Just a 265 hitter for the Giants. Also played for the Cubs, I believe. This is the Campaneris card we would miss. A 2 shortstop, 295 average, and I really like the walks there and there. And on base, of course, the great top line as well. Oh, that Joe Rudy defense, we'll never see that again. I don't think he's a 1 anymore. Actually, he might be a 1 in left field one more time. Crushes homers against lefties. You'll not see that again. Great batting average over here. Always an A bunter. Think about that. I mean, very team player. 22 home runs. We'll miss those stats. Rusty Torres was just a defensive center fielder backing up Claudel Washington, 2-2. He actually played reasonably well, believe it or not, with this card for a couple, 2 or 3 seasons. Well, we're happy with this Claudel card, and frankly, I don't think it gets any better. He's sort of the high floor, low ceiling player here. Already hitting 308 as an ace stealer with power and extra base hits on the card. It's in a little bit too many double plays, we think. His defense is never going to really be there. Now the pitching. Well, the great Catfish Hunter, not a starter 9, not quite as dominant. He used to have a line out there, single 1 line out the rest. He had more outs in the 6th column versus righties in 72, but still, we just produced. If you combine Catfish Hunter's 2 years, you have 250 innings and 23-6. And he was 25-12. So, yeah, he's still doing Catfish Hunter stuff. And now he can move Torres or promote Torres to the 2 spot. This is a really nice card, and it would be actually the best card we'll see of Torres in the rest of his career with Oakland. He goes to the Yankees and Red Sox. Those cards are okay, but not nearly as good as this card. And it's a 4-year card. Do not sneeze on this card. This is a very nice one. And frankly, it has the same template Ken Holtzman did. It's just that he's righty. You don't have Vida Blue and Ken Holtzman, the double lefties, anymore. You've got 2 righties at the top of the rotation. Which brings us to Dave Hamilton, who struggled in their elimination game. And really, he's a reliever. You want him in the bullpen when it's that dominant on one side versus the other. So you have him in the bullpen as a lefty. Jim Todd had a great performance in their elimination game. Long man. And Dave Tomlin as your other lefty in the bullpen. bring him, practically, you're bringing Raleigh Fingers back unless he doesn't make it back. But that's a good enough to contend pitching staff. You do need to add the one lefty. It's either Kenny Holtzman or you got to find somebody else. But you need a lefty starter. That's critical. Lefty starter and possibly Raleigh Fingers. Do you lose Dick Green? What do you do with Bando and Reggie and so forth? There are question marks. For the first time, there are question marks with the dynasty Oakland A's. And maybe we need to not use that word anymore. Now that 1972 and 73 are now gone, and they've only won one ring. They beat the Reds in one World Series, lost them one other time. So this might be the moment to put to bed the notion of dynasty Oakland A's. Who do they keep, waive, and retire of that batch of 1973 players? All right, the first card we'll look at is Sal Bando. Boy, he had, the big 69 was a great year. Used this card for them. After that, we had jumped him into, I think, the 70 card, and then the 73 card. He's been in those. He did have one lean year there in 72 we ignored. But now we're at 74 to 77. And, you know, the average is not there at all. Of course, the walks are there. They would be. The slugging is there in 74 and 76. 75 would be the year to not use. 74 or 76 would be probably the year to select. Best year will be with Milwaukee in 78. But that year is not available yet. So you got to put him in 1 year next year and put him on Oakland or Milwaukee. That'd be a rich move for the Brewers. You know, bring him in, make a deal. It's Sal Bando. He's going to be in the league. We know he's a keeper. The question remains, I guess, is that for Oakland, you know, do you dare make these moves, or do you do a simulation of some of the moves Charlie Finley would have made, or is it too soon to even consider doing moves? In any event, we know he's a keeper, and then we have to put trade there and then to figure out what year we're going to do with him. Speaking of third base, we do know that Steve Olivares has availability to play third base. We saw his card. So you theoretically only need a third baseman versus lefties if you want to lean heavily on trade. Okay. Could Phil Garner even play third? No, he can't play third. Anyway. Let's go to the next guy, Dick Green. To me, this seems like the guy you just don't really need at this point of this. The great defense at second base is certainly nice, but he's going to be a 213 hitter on a team that suddenly has many needs. And he's 33 years old, and you have Phil Garner on the team. Do I think he should be on waivers? Or do you trade him to somebody? You don't want to keep him. You're in this weird situation where you're just going to have to like stare at the telephone and hope it rings, because there will be moves to be made. And so for now, because of the defensive prowess and the everyday ability, I don't think you put a guy like that on waivers. We're going to keep him, but also indicate trade. And as this thing, and we're not going to resolve, I don't think we're going to be able to resolve any of this today, frankly. But if I put trade there, it's not looking good for keep. And I probably would, if I know there's guys I definitely 100% want to come back to Oakland, we'll indicate, beginning with our next guy, Reggie. So it's about, I guess, chasing stats here and mapping out the future of Reggie and his moves throughout the decade. And are we at a point now or not? He's got 2 more years in Oakland. He's got a 905 year in 74, and I think you got to take it. You got to take it. You do not change the storyline with Reggie. You might want to move him out of 75 to Baltimore, New York after that. I could see the Yankees going after him sooner than later. I could see Baltimore just passing, doing a hard pass and not taking him at all and not getting involved with that. So I could see the Yankees being super aggressive and getting him straight out of Oakland after 74 next year. But The 905 OPS would be the highest in the 4 years, except for the Yankee year. And no, the Yankees aren't going to get their hands on him yet. No, I don't like that at all. So I'm going to 74. Because 74 is a lot better than 75. Yeah. By the way, he's still stealing bases in 74. How's the defense? I don't have it here. Hopefully he's still good defensively in 74. He won a World Series ring in 74. So we're going to keep him right where he is. And I'm going to just to remind myself here, I'm going to put the, yeah, you got to let him bring him back. Next up is Darren Johnson, who had the 1 year he was added in 73, and I think he starts to turn into a pumpkin. Long career, 16-year career. A lot of moves at the end of that career. Of course, he was with Reds and Phillies. Then here we are, Phillies and Oakland. 74, Oakland, Milwaukee, and a little bit with Boston. 3 teams. Hitting 171 overall in a bunch of teams. So, I mean, sure, I mean, he theoretically this is going to be like a research project on the Strat-O-Matic roster sheet to find if he's got a 74 card. He probably does. 75, that card will exist. That's a full year with the White Sox in 75. Hitting 19 home runs. If he's a platoon with Tony Muser at first for the White Sox, that might make some sense. And then 76 is over with. Let's confirm waivers. All I need for waivers, which is where he should go. If he goes on waivers, then Oakland, Milwaukee, Boston, and the White Sox can all figure out who wants him. But let's get waivers first. He's got to have an Oakland, Milwaukee, or Boston card in 1974. So let's go to the roster sheet of 74. Got to see if it exists. Sometimes if you have less than 200 plate appearances, they don't make it. I'm going to go right to the nameless thing at the bottom. No, he's not. He's not there. So I got to go to all those teams. Oakland, Boston, and who? Oakland, Milwaukee, and Boston. Probably Oakland and Milwaukee. See if he's got a card. Oakland, Milwaukee, and Boston. Huh. Well, is he an extra player on Oakland, Milwaukee, or Boston? Oakland. No. Milwaukee. No. Boston. Really? Seriously? How many plate appearances does he have overall? 389. Let's try this again. You got 389 plate appearances. Strat-O-Matic will print the card regardless of how lousy it is. You'd think. So at 74, we know it's Oakland, Milwaukee, Boston, and the extra player list. So let's start again with Oakland. Infield, he's a first baseman. Nope. Darren Johnson. No. Milwaukee. Darren Johnson. That's T. Johnson. That's Tim Johnson. Darren Johnson. And Boston. Burleson Cooper. No. Boston. Cater, Fisk, McAuliffe, Wise. Milwaukee. Hanson, Sprague, Travers, Vukovic. Oakland, Holt, Knowles, Maxwell, J. Odom, or Blue Moon Odom. Huh. Well, okay, so maybe this is a good thing. It's the same as waivers almost. Oakland doesn't want him. Yeah. Doesn't seem to have a card in 74, so he goes on the retirement list. Now, he'll come out of retirement with that 1975 card with the White Sox, whether it's for the White Sox or some other team. But he's got to go on the retirement list. You can only get waivers if you have a card in year 1, which is next year. We have space on our retired list, so we don't not like the retired guys who do not leave the sport, but sometimes we get forced into it. We were forced into a retirement there when we didn't want to do it. Next guy, Gene Tennis. And here's a guy we know. He moves to the Padres at a certain point. Played with the Cardinals, a little bit with the Pirates, I think. So here we are. So he is down at 211 with the walks It brings the on base up to 367, which is nice. 411 slugging, 778 OPS. E is a catcher. Whatever the defense says would be nice. They have Duffy Dyer, frankly, doing the same kind of stats. Minus a little bit of the power versus righties. Duffy Dyer's got a nice power card versus lefties at least. 75, though, yeah, that's the card you want as an all-star. 859 OPS. Plus, he's going to be there in 80 and 76 as well before he ventures to the Padres. I want the 75 card. So we're going to keep him. These are guys that, you know, this season didn't end well. They don't need to bring Tennis back. They already have one catcher. Theoretically, most teams, if you already have a catcher, let's say he's a righty who hits lefties, which is Duffy Dyer, you won't prioritize catcher. You'll just look for a left-handed hitting catcher somewhere in the draft, like a Johnny Oates or an Elrod Hendricks or any. Baltimore has John Edwards that we saw in their playoff series. All right, next up, the pitching. Here we go, folks. Ken Holtzman. Yeah, you just can't find, like, you can't just lose a lefty and say, oh, we'll find another one to replace him. Yeah, really? That is a risque move. So, 75, still with Oakland at age 29, 28, 29 in his pitching prime. He's still delivering. Yeah, maybe a tiny bit worse than 73, just a little bit. He's getting 40, 39, 38 starts. Again, to me, you know, you got to keep a left-handed starting pitcher like Ken Holtzman. So, and it was, we don't need confirmation on these years yet that we're going for him, but it's 76 with 2 teams. He also pitches in 3 days rest, but his stats really aren't that great anymore. He's got really 2 more good years, then he's just kind of okay after that. But 74 or 5. Either year, I know the WAR is slightly up in the 1 year, though statistically I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's in the 1-loss record, or there's some other factor. Oh, the complete games. I don't know why the WAR jumps up at 1.5 in one of the years versus the other. But 7.45 is good enough for Kenny Holtzman. So now I know there's 3 guys. I want Reggie. I want Tennis. I want Holtzman. And now we're going to lose one of these guys. It's obvious. We're going to lose one. And there's no way of trading into a way of keeping 5 guys. Unless you get a team who wants to be a trade partner and you trade them and then you make, it's a tricky thing. Bob Locker, he goes to the Cubs in 73 and then it's over for him. They might make this 75 card, but he can't get waivers. Bob Locker gets retired. And our last guy, here it is. It's Riley Fingers. So, they have a difficult situation. They're going to lose another guy. We know they lost Bill North. They lost Mike Hegan. They lost Vida Blue. They're going to lose another core member of this group. Riley Fingers. So, Oakland, San Diego, Milwaukee. So here we are. 73 Oakland, just magnificent. Hall of Fame. 3 more years with the A's. Leading the league in games. Games finished. Innings. The whip's fantastic. Got to keep him. Don't even need to know which year I want to keep him in. Plus, look, he's only 27 years old. Keeping Riley Fingers. I don't even know which year. It doesn't really matter. We're going to keep him, and we're just going to exclamation points over keeping him. So when we do this, I got a Hall of Famer in Riley Fingers. I got a Hall of Famer in Reggie Jackson. I got a left-handed starting pitcher that I need in Ken Holtzman. That's 3. It's coming down to Bando or Tennis, but not both. Bando or Tennis. Someone is leaving Oakland, as is Dick Green. So we know Dick Green will be a trade. We know Bando finds a home with Milwaukee. Would you get a lot in return from Milwaukee in a trade? Where would you look for a trade? I know who I would like from Milwaukee if I could get him. George Scott. If I get George Scott from Milwaukee, have him play first base for Oakland, because they don't have a first baseman. They had Onaveros, and they had Darren Johnson, who's going on the retired list. But prior to that, they had Mike Epstein and Mike Hegan. They just don't have a first baseman in the ranks. Gene Tennis can play first. We talked about Onaveros could play third. So if you want to move Bando to the Brewers, have Onaveros play third and get a defensive replacement versus lefties, but give me like George Scott. Yeah, I'd do that. Where's Milwaukee? George Scott is on the keeper list. That doesn't help. This doesn't help. Plus, George Scott's got an amazing 75 with the team he's on. Doesn't help. It does not help, because you're still in that same boat of the 5 players. You'd have to trade Bando for a guy who has a present card in the years of 74, 5, or 6. Bando does not. George Scott does not have that. Tennis seems to me to be the most expendable, because you got a catcher. You got a right-handed hitting catcher with a -1 arm. Tennis is a right-handed hitting catcher with a 0 arm. He's a first baseman. Onaveros is a lousy fielding first baseman. First baseman or dime a dozen. Darren Johnson was a first baseman. First base is usually not a hole. And frankly, Bando, I like Bando over Tennis. But again, this is the beauty. We're not making a decision now. We're just kind of kicking this little subject around as something to talk about, because we have all off season to make moves on this thing. And I'm sure if Oakland is just floating this out there, everybody else in the league is looking at these keepers and going, can we have Reggie? No. Can we have Holtzman? No. Can we have Bando? Maybe. Tennis? Maybe. But this is what we got. We got 6 guys we want to keep. Dick Green has virtually no shot now. He'll be either put on waivers or traded, and Tennis or Bando would be traded. Again, I just do not think. The only way you would trade Kenny Holtzman would be to a team that has an established lefty who's presently in the league, and he's got to be a good left-handed starting pitcher. I'd trade Kenny Holtzman to the Dodgers for Tommy John, because Tommy John's got an active card, but that's not what history would have done. And again, there'll be a lot more time to do a deeper dive in this subject. This is kind of the fun part of the offseason. The Oakland A's. Critical offseason. Normally they just coast from dynasty year to dynasty year to dynasty year. But now they are at a critical moment in their story as we take our story into the middle part of the 1970s. We got 28 teams now whose season has ended. And you see the keeper list gets bigger and bigger and bigger. 18 guys will not be kept. They'll have to be traded, moved around, end up on the waiver list. And you know, that's talent. It's, 15 empty slots on the waiver list are going to be talented players. Because you imagine Sal Bando on waivers or Gene Tennis on waivers. I mean, that's out there as a possibility. And then, the worst waivered players are added to the retirement list over there. That's it today, folks. Hope you enjoyed the analysis eliminating the Oakland A's, and we'll see you next time.